I'm Kimberly.
And I'm Jocelyn.
From Fat Quarter Shop.
And it's Emma.
And we're here today to talk about Deck-ade the Halls, 10 fabrics, 10 blocks, 10 years. And we're on our second installment, which is called Star Studded. And this is a cute star block. So Jocelyn's going to talk to us about this section.
All right, well, today we are going to be going over the Star Studded section, which is this little section you see here. And it also comes down along the quilt down here. So we love stars here at Fat Quarter Shop. We love star quilts, and so we try to maximize the impact of these stars all around the quilt by putting them in surprising places. I love how the red alternates with the blue, so you get kind of a sparkling effect, like there's a dark and a light. So I really hope you enjoy making this block, and remember, after you're done making your block, please post it on our Flickr page.
Yeah, and we have 3 different stars, but they use the same inside. So you're going to make a total of 4 of the small stars. And for techniques today, we're going to talk again about corner squares on your rectangles, and we're going to talk about half square triangles, and we're going to actually show you 2 different options. So first we're going to talk about our supply list, and again it's the same as in our first video where we have pins, seam ripper, scissors, pen, marking pen, rotary cutter, ruler, and then these great little rose safety marking pens. And you can see that I've already cut out all our pieces and labeled them with the letters. And the new supply that we have this time is 1-inch finished triangle paper. So the first technique we're going to show you is how to sew a corner square. So we have our square on the wrong side. We've marked with a purple pin. We're going to lay that on our rectangle, pin, and sew. Now the manufacturer instructions do say that you should not press this because you'll see through. I make my line very faint, so you never will see it on the other side. I don't press real dark. And on my sewing machine I have a line. You can sew on the line, you can sew on the purple line, or there's a product called Angler 2 that you can tape down to your machine that shows you the lines you can sew on. So there's really lots of different ways you can sew these units on. So we're just going to sew on the line. On my machine I use a 2.0 stitch length. I always set my machine for the foot to come up and the needle to be down because I find that it's easier to sew that way. We're going to trim approximately a 1/4 inch back. And next I'm going to show you how you're going to press this unit. So now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to set your seam just by ironing down, and then you're just going to want to press it open. You don't want to press like this, you just want to be very gentle and press. And you'll see that it looks nice and flat. So now in this unit we're going to make half square triangles. I'm going to show you 2 different methods to make this. The first method is putting your squares right sides together. So we're going to do that. Put your squares together, right sides together. And I'm going to just put in a small pin. And then you're going to mark a line 1/4 inch from the center. So just as an example, I'm going to draw this center line. You don't need to draw this line, but you can if you want. And then if you follow that on your ruler 1/4 inch to the side, and 1/4 inch to the other side, now what we're going to do is we're going to sew on the outside lines, and then when you're done you'll cut in the center and you'll press open. So we're going to show you how to do that next. So now we have our lines and we're going to sew on the outside lines. Now you're going to cut the center line. You're going to set your seam and you're going to press open, and this will finish at 1.5 inches. So now we're going to talk about how to make half square triangles using triangle paper. We sell a product called Triangles on a Roll, and it's my favorite kind because I like the way that you can store it. And these, if you look at the instructions, it says to cut 1 7/8 inch squares. To find the finished size of any half square triangle, you just take the 7/8 inch off. So since it's 1 7/8, you take 7/8 off, you know that it finishes at 1 inch. So we have purchased some 1 inch triangle paper. There's lots of different brands out there, just so you know. So to make this, what you do is you're going to put your two fabrics right sides together, and you're just going to take your triangle paper, comes on a roll. You're going to always cut on your straight line, so I've just cut some off. You're going to pin it, and we're going to go to the sewing machine and we're going to sew on the dotted lines. Okay, so with triangle paper you need to lower your stitch length. I usually lower it to 1.4 or 1.5. You're going to always sew on your dotted line. So we're going to sew on the dotted line. When you get to the corner, you can just pivot right where it meets and keep sewing. And now I'll show you the next step at the cutting table. So now you can see we've sewn on the dotted line, and you're going to cut on your straight lines. So I always just cut one with a straight line, and then here when I cut on this edge, since we've cut that off previously, I'm going to line up straight line with straight line to make sure we're at an exact angle, and I'm going to trim. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to line up the straight line with what we've cut, and I'm going to trim. I'm going to cut on this center line, doing the same thing, lining up this line and this line, cutting. And on the center you can just cut, it doesn't have to be exact. Now when you stitch with a shorter stitch length, that's going to make the paper easier to come off. So what I do is I fold it back, press a little bit, and I yank the paper off. And it comes right off. And we'll do the same thing with the iron. We'll set the seam, we'll press open, and this will match exactly 1.5 inches, and then you'll just trim off your ears, and these will be ready to sew into your block. So now we've combined our half square units and our corner square units and our squares, and you can see that we now have 2 red points and 2 aqua points. And what we're going to do is we're just going to fold these over and pin. We're going to sew down this line, and then we'll sew the seam at the bottom together. So now we've sewn the units together, and you can see that if we've pinned correctly and you've pressed correctly, your seams will match perfectly in these 2 points. Now what we're going to do is we're going to fold this over, and you'll see you've pressed your seams opposite directions, and you'll pin right there. You'll kind of make sure these nest. Pin, pin at the end. Same thing here, you're going to press your seam into each other so they nest, and we're just going to sew across the end, and our star block will be done. So now we've made our star studded block, and you're going to make a total of 4, and they're going to be in 3 different sections. So you're going to finish those off with your background 3 different ways. And we want to remind you that online we have PDFs of the full instructions that are full color. And we really hope you join along and show us your blocks on Flickr. Thanks for watching.
Thanks.